Reading for January 26th, Science of Mind, A Philosophy of Faith, A Way of Life by Ernest Holmes. Reading from page 53, paragraph 5 through page 55, paragraph 4, using inclusive language.
We should be able to look a discordant fact in the face and deny its reality, since we know its seeming reality is borrowed from illusion, from chaos and old night. Our standard is one of perfection. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Matthew 5:48. We should be able to look at a wrong condition with the knowledge that we can change it. The realization that we have this ability must be gained by the application of our knowledge. The practice of the science of mind calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth, a willingness to let this inner spirit guide us with the conscious knowledge that the law of the Lord is perfect. Psalms 19:7. And we must believe this to be a fact. Insofar as our thought is in accord with this perfect law, it will accomplish, and nothing can hinder it. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Matthew 24:35. Said the beautiful Jesus as he strove to teach his disciples the immutability of the law of righteousness. A practitioner uses thought definitely and for specific purposes, and the more definitely they use the law, the more directly will it respond to them. A false fact is neither person, place, nor thing to the one who uncovers it, and once uncovered, it has no place in which to hide. The illusion, seen and understood, is made negative in the experience of the one who suffered by it. While it is true that wrong conditions exist, they could not remain unless there were someone to experience them. Consequently, the experience must be in consciousness. Change the consciousness and the false condition will disappear. Conditions are not entities. We are entities. Cannot that which is conscious cast out that which has no consciousness? If we properly understood, we would be able to remove false conditions as easily as Jesus did. He knew, but our faith is weak. We must strengthen it, and we can. Let us analyze this. We find ourselves impoverished. We wish to change this condition. We know that it is not in accord with ultimate reality, that the Spirit imposes no limitations. Therefore, we know that our apparent limited condition has no real law to support it. It is simply an experience of consciousness. We wish a definite result in the opposite direction. First, we realize that the law of life is a law of liberty, of freedom. We now state that this law of liberty is flowing through us and into all our affairs. But the image of our limitation persists. Here is a definite contradiction of our statements of freedom. Right here, we must stop and declare that these images, limitation, are neither person, place, nor thing, that they have no power, personality, nor presence, and no real law to support them. We do not believe in them, and they cannot operate through us. We are free from their influence forever. Then we begin to fill our thought with the idea of faith, the expectancy of good, and the realization of plenty. We sense and mentally see right action in our life. We put our whole trust in the law of good, and it becomes very real to us as we definitely speak it into being, into our being, and into the being of our affairs. We deny anything and everything that contradicts our realization of this truth. At this point of realization, we meet a friend who immediately begins a tale of woe about hard times, bad business conditions, etc. And should we listen to this tale of the serpent, We might reverse our previous affirmations and make negative our former mental and spiritual concept. This does not mean that we should refuse to hold conversation with people for fear that we will neutralize the position which we have taken in our mind, but we should refuse mentally to accept the false position. Then we can talk with one another and not be disturbed. The time will come when we will let our conversation be in heaven and refuse to talk about, read, or think about those things that ought not to be. But someone will say, should we refuse to look at sickness, poverty, and unhappiness? This is not what we're discussing. We will not refuse to help the helpless or lift up the fallen, but we will refuse to wallow in the mud because of our sympathies. If the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. Matthew 15:14.